I got a pickup and a Lowe's card when I turned 16. It was free labor. You get caught up in, well, I don't know what I'm doing, or my dog's not good enough, or I don't know anybody, or whatever. I literally just showed up. My dad was actually shot with a .30-06 in the head. He's pretty much made a full recovery, which is a miracle. I mean, it was just incredible to watch a kid who goes to bed at night watching Rick and Ronnie Smith training videos. It blows on how many shotgun people are cattle people or horse people. You can waste a lot of time if your gear isn't easily accessible. Life is going to take you where you need to go. So you just got to be ready. This is Anna V with Anna V Outdoors, and you are listening to The Wild Initiative.
Put down your latte and pull on your boots.
You and I and everybody listening to this owns 640 million acres.
I think he killed more deer drinking his coffee, smoking a cigarette in the pickup truck than I did spending all that time freezing my butt off.
Something that I would hope is that people realize that those are wild animals and they have savage natures.
I look forward to packing animals out. I look forward to that pain of success.
Doesn't matter where you were born. It doesn't matter where you live. I've said it before, and you know what? I'll say it again louder for the people in the back. Your present circumstance should not limit your passions.
This is Jay Scott of the Jay Scott Outdoors podcast.
Hey, this is Ryan Callahan.
Hi, this is Jules McLean.
Hey everybody, Jason Carter here with Epic Outdoors.
Hey guys, this is Tim Burnett with Solo Hunter.
You're listening to The Wild Initiative.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of The Wild Initiative. Glad to have you all with me here today. And today I am excited to be talking with Anna V of Anna V Outdoors. Thank you so much for hopping on the line with me today.
For sure. So I'm in Palmer, Kansas at the BDC Nationals, and today is my break day before finals tomorrow. So it was really good to get my mind off of focusing on tomorrow. I'm going to overthink it for sure.
So what are the BDC? Tell me, what is that?
This is the bird dog circuit.
Okay.
I'm running a dog tournament this weekend. I'm actually not running my dogs. I got sucked into the lab world over the last few months and showed up to run a friend's dogs, Mike Vaughn with the Blast Wing Shooting Kennels out of Wisconsin. And I've just had some great rookie luck with his dogs, and I was going to ride it out until it ended.
Well, I imagine we will be getting into some bird dog stories coming up. But one thing I always like to start out with is just a quick introduction of who you are and really how did you get introduced? How did you get your start in the outdoors and hunting and all of this?
Well, I was raised in a outdoor family. We deer hunted and turkey hunted, but no one had a bird dog. And so just growing up, I was an only child. My family was in residential construction. I got a pickup and a Lowe's card when I turned 16. It was free labor, so, and it was just that kind of thing. There was no separation of girls having their things that they did and the guys did something else. I mean, my grandmother's in her 80s now. Even though my grandfather's passed away, she would still go sit in a deer blind by herself, which of course we won't let her do that now, but we're definitely going to get in one last bird hunt before March 31st at a local preserve back home in Georgia. So she still gets around great and thinks that, she's still 50. So we're going to let her think that until she can't. But, we just raised to not think that girls can't do anything. So my dad, hauled me to gun stores and everything else. So as an adult, I just didn't think anything about it until I started coaching other women about the separation. And then I was kind of blindsided that there was a separation because there just wasn't my entire life. Until I became an adult and really saw what society was about. So I just lived in my little redneck bubble, I guess, for a really long time. So actually, I went to school for residential construction and the market crashed. And I went back to grad school for, one of those security jobs, and I was miserable. So I got to the end of grad school and I thought, well, I could pay for another 2 more semesters and graduate, or I can just start a business and do what I want to do. So I quit. my mom about disowned me, but she gets it now. And I fell into, teaching women pistol basics. I'm not really sure how that happened because I wasn't a big time pistol shooter, but somehow that happened. And, I made that connection with Glock that we talked about and did photo shoots with them. And it really opened some doors. Oh, the connection with Glock was Georgia Bow. So I was brought in to be an instructor with Georgia Bow, and it was such a cool event. It was probably, 5-6 years now. And maybe even 7. Jeez, I don't know. But we're telling our age, so we won't even talk about it. They sponsored the event, and they were just so supportive. Megan is one of their sales reps, and she and I just hit it off. And so we tried to tag team a little bit, but my heart was really in the hunting industry. So once I started hosting some ladies hunts over in Alabama, I had this core group, and we just lived for road tripping. So there was one lodge that somehow they had met somebody on the high school softball team. So this lodge in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, Hamilton, Alabama. I think they have a huddle house and like a catfish place. That's like all they have there. They gave away a hunt to the softball team, and so that, as a fundraiser. And somebody in town just told me that they were the nicest people in the world. So I called them up, and Joe Williams is the owner, and I said, I'd like to host a ladies hunt there. And they'd never done that before. So they took a chance on us, and I'll never forget pulling up the first time. And we had like 2 trucks full of chicks, pink coolers, the whole 9 yards, and muck boots lining up the entire back glass, And we get there, and all the guides are there, and they're like, well, should we unpack y'all's truck? They were just so hospitable, but they didn't know how to react to us because they'd never had a group of women show up before. So we all piled the truck, and we're like, yeah, we'll unpack the truck after we have a beer first. And after that, it was all good. They're like, okay, we're not going to have to tote their guns and everything. So we built such a great relationship with them and went back and forth. And they've actually added some upland and hosting some wing shooting at their place, but I just haven't made it back over there for that. So after that, I got suckered into a short hair, but I didn't know what that meant. I just thought they were cute, and a buddy of mine was raising them. And after 5 years, I finally just gave in and got a dog. And that changed my life in many ways. At first, I thought I had just lost my mind and I didn't know what in the world I was going to do with it. And so I sent it off to puppy camp, took a break, and then realized what value that dog brought and what I could do with it and the versatility of it. And then I just landed with the right people to mentor me and show me how those ropes went, because it was just brand new. And I was not a shotgun shooter at that time, but Ducks Unlimited back home, I'm pretty involved with them, and they wanted me to host a ladies 5-stand event. We have this really cool private farm at home with a gorgeous 5-stand, and I was like, heck yeah, I've shot at guns my whole life. I can do this. It didn't work out that way. So, safety is one thing that I'm a parent in highest standards. My dad was actually shot with a 30-06 in the head January 1st of 84 in a deer hunting accident. And he survived, and he has a super great testimony from it.
A 30-06 to the head.
Wow. He has a really cool testimony. So maybe one day, I'll get to tell his story and have him showcase that. But yeah, so he's of course come back to hunting and everything. He's pretty much made a full recovery, which is a miracle. But he still has a bullet in his head and still suffers, from some side effects from that accident, but he lives a very normal life.
Wait, hold on a minute. So the bullet is still in his head.
They couldn't remove it because of where it lodged.
That is, no pun intended. I'm trying to wrap my head around this whole thing.
I know. He's
insane.
And he lives with so much joy, and he never let it stop him. And he's continued to hunt since he had to learn to walk again and everything. So he literally just the outdoors motivated him to get back to his normal life. And so that was the life I was raised in. That's
crazy.
Yeah. Now I forgot where I was. With the dog. So I never really just like loved deer hunting. Like I would go and I would have such a great time with the girls, but it wasn't like I just lived for it. Now I loved turkey hunting, but then I had an issue and I got snake bit. So then I was like, well, I don't really want to be doing that anymore. The paranoia of getting snake bit doesn't go away. And then this dog just starts getting older, more mature. I start figuring out what I'm doing. And then I hosted that, the DU ladies shoot. And even though like everybody was perfectly safe, we hardly hit any clays. So I went back to the DU boys and I said, if y'all want me to do this, like y'all just about outed me that I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So y'all better find me a coach, And so just some random referral, I landed my coach. And that was back in 2016. Masterclass shooter. I mean, he's a tax attorney. He doesn't do it full time, but he's just a whiz. And I was just so eager to learn and to be better. And it was just an instant addiction. So I was troweling my dog. She was like 2 at the time, horrible shooter. I had this green short hair, it was like a firecracker, and I wasn't a great shot. And I found this coach and I started everything like we were talking about. You get caught up in, well, I don't know what I'm doing, or my dog's not good enough, or I don't know anybody, or whatever. I literally just showed up. I was like, I'm the only chick here. I don't even care. I'm going to love this and I'm going to figure it out. And if it had not been for all these guys showing me mercy all across the country, I don't know. I mean, I guess I would just still be terrible. I probably wouldn't have given up, but they've coached me so many years and I've had so many mentors just take me to that next level. So I can't take any credit that this happened on my own. I just showed up, and I had the heart for it. But I ended up shooting with my coach like 4 or 5 days a week, at least 250 rounds a day. And I got really good, really fast. I just had the right training. Sometimes you can practice that hard and you not have the right coach and you not see the results. I mean, it was just pure magic. So I stuck out that sporting clay world and kind of picked that over the gun dog world just because, like we've talked about, it was crazy to walk into industry events and be like, holy smokes, I didn't even know this existed, and I love the outdoors and I love encouraging people to find out where they belong in this world because of how it transformed my life and what it's meant to my entire family. So, I got sucked into that and kind of lost my priorities of wanting to stay in the gun dog world and get into training. And I moved more towards the shooting side because that's where I was investing my time. And that's where I felt like my confidence was, because I just still had a little puppy at home. And then, I just kind of took the long way around the industry and tested out, different avenues of it and found my way right back to the bird dogs in like 2 years. And now I know why I'm here. I know that I'm capable of doing it. My shooting instructor not only was a phenomenal coach as a building me as a shooter, because I shot tons of tournaments with him and I won my state title that next year, like the following year after I started shooting lessons with him. And I just had that feeling like that was really cool, but I'm just done, and it never was that same drive as I'm going to get in the truck tomorrow, like 3 a.m. and I'm driving to Kansas with 4 dogs or 3 dogs, whatever I had at the time. And I can't wait to do it again. I just didn't have that same passion for that sport as I did with the bird dogs. And so, getting involved with the industry opened up so much opportunity too. Here I'm from Georgia, so we only have like our preserves and our plantation life, which I take so much pride in the traditions and what we stand for and the contributions that our region puts into the industry. However, there was just so much more opportunity out there. And so I just took my time experiencing a little bit of everything so that you're not going to regret it. You're not going to regret driving across the country hunting birds ever.
There's one thing I've learned, and so I have this habit I've discovered of, I have an event, say, in this last year, it was in Wichita. Prior to that, I was going to visit some folks in Colorado, and it would have been cheaper for me to fly out and take a lift in, but with a lot of these events, I've turned them into giant road trips. 2 years ago, it was 6,000 miles. It was all the Rocky Mountain states over the course of 3 weeks. This year, it was 6 weeks long, drove 8,000 miles. And I think I hit 14. I can't remember if it was 14 or 17 states. And I hunted, I fished, I was out with friends, I recorded podcasts, and it was amazing.
I love that too. I mean, when I got my truck, my first truck, the new one that I got in 2016, 2 years later, I was like, how in the world do I have 90,000 miles on this truck? Well, I'm going to start over. So I traded it in and got another one in 18. And now I'm over 50,000. I'm like, it's hard to get rid of them because you have so many memories in them, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on those road trips. I don't bat an eye at it.
But you'll never regret making that choice to pick up, and whether it's an opportunity comes up last minute for a hunt, 3 states away, for you, it's wing shooting. For other people, they may have a buddy invite them out for deer camp or a hog hunt or whatever that is.
The flexibility to just keep traveling. Well, that's exactly how I ended up back in the troweling world. So I knew I was going to get back into bird dogs, and I was trying to figure out what avenue, if I wanted to do testing or, like where I wanted to go with the short hair thing. And so I was in South Dakota up at Redneck Nation, which is probably one of my most favorite events. Pheasant events for sure, hands down, favorite one. It's in November every year. It's a team hunt. It's a competition, but that entire community just makes memories of a lifetime. So that's something that I'm going to commit to for as long as I can go. So I was up there and I ran into some troweling buddies that I didn't know were going to be there. And so in the pointing world, well, they introduced me to the rest of their friend group. And of course, I didn't know any flushers, because when you get to these trials, they can be really big. And the pointing people go in one direction and the flushing people go in one direction, and you don't always cross paths. So that's when Mike told me that he had started a club up in Wisconsin, and what bird dogger doesn't want to go to Wisconsin? I'd not been. So I was like, okay, that's going to be a great opportunity for me to, well, that's not true. I had been to Wisconsin, but just for and I went up in the last spring, to instruct a ladies group in the Run NAVDA. So they have dogs that are super trained, ready to go, but they just didn't have the shooting skills to really maximize the potential with their dog. So they had me come up for that, which was a phenomenal thing. So I was thinking, okay, well, this will be great because I can get those women out into the field and coach them on that next steps. This process of getting their confidence to match their dog. And it's a controlled environment too, so I was like, definitely let's make this happen. So I got up there, and the Georgia girl knows nothing about Wisconsin in the winter, right? So we've got this big plan, and everybody's super excited, and we've got all these women, we've been talking back and forth for weeks, and the blizzard hits and there's snow and nobody can go anywhere. And so I literally got stuck running day in, day out with him, watching how he ran his kennel. And all along, we have these end goals, and we know where we want to get, but the middle part is the fuzzy part. And so I kind of got stuck in that process of figuring out what that looked like, and being able to take that time for myself and say, okay, this is really what I want to do, and running the short hairs. And so because I stayed there because of the snow, I ended up running a trial with them, and I had some really good rookie luck with one of his dogs. And so I got sucked back into it. And I was like, I went up a week early from Pheasant Fest, because his place was only 3 hours away from Pheasant Fest, because they hosted a trial there. So I could run the dogs again, because we had already committed for me to come here. And I was like, okay, well, just because I did it once doesn't mean I can do it again, It's just one of those things when you're addicted to it and you love it, it's so easy to make time for it, give it your best. And the one thing that I have found, this is my first BDC Nationals. I've really only ran that one other BDC trial that they hosted in Wisconsin. And I'd already kind of known that Wisconsin crowd. Of course, they're very welcoming and stuff, but I've traveled the country with a lot of different organizations promoting women in the outdoors. And I have to say, this is probably the most welcoming group of women. I don't know how long one of them's been running, but they are saying like 4 years they've been doing this together. And they support each other and are cheering each other on. They're in the blind together, like giving pep talks. And it was so easy to walk in from an outsider and join these women and just be, no matter what happens at the end of the day in the scoreboard, everybody's going to support each other. So it was the first time that I really feel like I've encountered hardcore hunting women that can handle their own and support others. So I'm just thrilled to be here and find them because, they're scattered all over the country. So until you make a commitment to come here and jump in the deep end of the pool, whether you're ready or not, you can miss out on those really great relationships, The road tripping thing is the key. You just got to make that commitment to get in the truck, right?
I think that's what it is. You can make all the plans you want, but at some point you got to open that door. You got to sit your butt down in that seat and you got to hit the gas and just go.
Just accept that there's going to be a season of paying your dues and just enjoy it. Because that's what's going to give you the knowledge to help the next person. And so I just welcome it. I'm like, it's going to be a roller coaster for a while, and I choose to enjoy it. You got to make that choice. It's not always going to be what you want, but you got to go through it. So you might as well go through it with a positive attitude and get to the other side as quick as you can.
Well, and the situation's never going to be perfect. There's, I think we all naturally want to feel like there's this clean, easy progression. And then you get to the point where you're like, okay, yes, now this is the point where I make that transition into doing this, whatever it is, right. This thing, whether it's a new job, whether it's hunting, whether it's, starting a business, whatever that is, we want it to be this nice, easy, even progression. And then a clean, safe switch. And it's never. One out of a 1,000 times that'll happen. And sometimes
and
you
what
just.
What fun would that be?
Exactly. If there is no risk in life, where's the fun? If
That's
there's
right.
no challenge, and so often, you just have to take a chance and not be afraid to fail at something, and it's.
I know, and I look back and think,
I still struggle.
If those Davy boys had not put me on the spot, which I was never going to tell them no, and put me in this event that I definitely wasn't prepared for, but I didn't know, I didn't know any different. Still those women call me all the time to go shoot. So, it made the impact for the purpose. It still was a success, even though I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. But at the time, you just don't know. You only know what you know in the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that led to me getting a dog. Literally, bird dog and a shotgun changed my life. I changed everything to make this it wasn't intentional for it to be a career. It was intentional to be a lifestyle. And then I woke up one day and I was like, dang, this is all I'm doing. I better get serious. So, what I've found too is people have their hunting dogs and they're contributing to our lifestyle. They're contributing to keeping hunting alive. They're contributing to keeping kids outdoors, keeping families together, building great friendships, just the whole thing of our lifestyle that we appreciate. And in the same sense, they've got this dog that's a rock star in the field, and it's also their pet sleeping on the couch. And for a long time in our industry, that was a big no-no. And you're going to ruin your dog. I was told that when I first started. You've ruined your dog. I never put her in a crate. She rode shotgun and everything. Since then, I've learned that was not the safest thing. Who puts a baby in the front seat, right? You put it in the car seat. So you need to put your dog in the safe box. But I did use them, and they are huge marketing tools for me because everywhere I go, I've got my dogs. And sometimes, if I take my hat off and put my field clothes on, some people don't even know who I am. I've had that happen before, and people are like, oh my God. So I don't know, just the dogs bring so much into your life that I don't think people really expect when they get their first one. And then it's like, you'll never be without a bird dog for the rest of your life. And, I never thought that I was going to have a lab or run labs or get sucked into that world either. So I've learned the hard way to never say never.
It's, this is exactly what we were talking about right before the podcast. We had such an incredible discussion about, you can never tell where you're going to end up. So never be afraid, like you said, to take that chance, say that yes, because it could, it could be nothing. Like, I could have started this podcast, I could have gotten 10 episodes in, and, I could still it could just be my mother listening. Or, it's just, I always say it.
Your mom would listen. My mom still hasn't figured out what I do. She's like, she just travels shooting that shotgun and all those dogs around.
I tell you what, she is pretty much the first person to listen to every single one of my podcasts. Sometimes I'll go run into her, and I walked into the house one day and sat there. I'm like, what is that? Then I realized it was my voice, and I kind of snuck around, and she was at her little vanity doing her hair and listening to the whatever podcast, and she does not hunt. She's become quite the country lady since she's been up here, but she raises chickens and all that, but she's my biggest supporter. But
that's really sweet.
As I said, it could literally be just that. And you know what? I'm all the better for it, but it can also turn into something incredible. And so taking that chance, taking that first step, you never know where it's going to take you, what you're going to end up doing. Suddenly you're traveling all over the country with dogs, doing wing shooting, and seeing yourself on up on posters. And
I know. And it is crazy. Those opportunities come and you never expect them. You just meet the right person, you make that right connection. And over the last 6 months, I've had a lot of my partnerships change, and it was great to just take that next level and like dig in a little deeper, and people that wanted to, really plan for long term and bite the bullet so that we can make a bigger difference. And so you're right. Like I never expected to have a hat line or sell coffee. I mean, like what? But when I sat down with these people, and I realized that they had just as much pride and passion about their top quality products, and then they appreciated our industry. How do you say no? It's like, heck yeah. Like, when do we get started? Because especially for me, a lot of my partners are outside of the industry. So bringing new people into the industry with that quality, I felt like was a bonus. So just expanded our outreach and education for what the wing shooting the upland community is about. So, it was really cool for me to get those calls from people that weren't wing shooters that wanted to team up. So I think that's the biggest compliment of all, when you're making waves like that and people appreciate the legacy that you're trying to build to keep this around. So, and I have 2 daughters that absolutely love it. So I'm going to fight tooth and nail to keep shotguns and bird dogging around for a very long time.
So how old are your 2 daughters?
One's 17 and one's 6.
So we got a bit of a range there. Mm-hmm. And they're and do they get involved?
Thank God, because they're expensive. They're expensive. Yes. So my oldest daughter just finished up her senior year on the National Youth Leadership Council with PF and QF. And that was an opportunity that she never saw coming because she was mainly a horse rider. She showed horses. She shot. She was a competitive shooter for about a year and really loved the hunting side more. But because of her horse schedule, she was limited on just travel and stuff. Well, when she got on with PFQF and the people that they have supporting their youth programs changed her life. So I'm so grateful for them because they made my parenting a lot easier, and there's just so many great things like that within the upland industry that maybe parents don't know about, whatever, but teaming up with these organizations that teach your kid about responsibility, just of life. And then they're great people and the kids love them and they keep in touch with them. And then they make friends all over the country. So they're exposed to different lifestyles and different opportunities. I mean, that's a really close-knit group of kids. So they're getting an education that is literally priceless. So now she's committed to be in the ag industry for college, and she's went to an ag school and maybe even into law school. So I know that PF and QF and their mentors definitely have kept her focused on the outdoors. And she just went with me to a hunt in Alabama at Otter Creek a couple weeks ago and hung out with, major influencers there. The girls from Covey Rise magazine. John's just got an amazing staff, and they just took her in. And then Mary, who runs a store called Caliber out of Birmingham. I partner with them as well. And it was just a whole new group of people from the South that, even though they're just the next state over, they still have a different story, And so it was just another reiteration for her. So she just got an Aussie puppy because, she's like the horse cattle girl. By the time that weekend was over, she said, I got the wrong dog. I'm going to have to sell this puppy. I'm going to have to get me a bird dog because I'm going to college in the South, in quail country, and my job could be guiding. Well, the thing was that we hunted that day with Jill, who's the kennel manager at Otter Creek, and JC watched her do her job and do it so well and enjoy it. I mean, she's watched me do it for how many years, but I'm mom. And so that's just been the coolest thing about this industry is literally people all over the country have mentored her and shown her how to make it her own. So, that's just something that you just value. I mean, yeah, I have great friends in here, but my friends also invest in my kids. And so you can't always say that, but it happens in the outdoor world. I mean, it's not specific to the upland industry, but that's just my bubble. And then the youngest one, she's bird dog crazy. She loves Dolly Parton. She has a 2-year-old short hair named Dolly. She's bird dog tater on Instagram, and she has every single bit of goal to being homeschooled and staying on the road. Like, she is a professional road tripper. Loves it.
That is awesome.
She's shooting 410, and she just went to nationals, UFTA nationals, with a buddy of mine that's a trainer out of North Carolina. And she says that Clay Moose is her bestest bird dog buddy. So they decided she was going to run nationals in the youth. When their youth program is huge, UFTA had tons of kids this year. It was really incredible to watch. And of course, that's another great opportunity where you get like-minded people. Take your kid under their wing and allow them to become independent. And so I just walked around with my phone. I just played mom the whole time. I don't even think I packed a gun. So Clay shot for her, and she ran one of his short hairs. She ran her Dolly. And out of 14 or 16 kids, the 6-year-old handled 2 dogs and placed both dogs in the top 10. And the boys beat her, but the boys could have been 16. It was just incredible to watch a kid who goes to bed at night watching Rick and Ronnie Smith training videos. I'm like, I don't know when this is all going to burn out, but she just loves them and she gets it. So I don't pressure her into it, but if she wants to go, we just pack a bag and let her roll with it. So yeah, it's really fun that we do all of this together, or sometimes it's just me and JC. Sometimes it's just me and Hallie. Everybody has their own schedule. And so, yeah, we're just the bird dogging girls.
So for any of the ladies here listening to the podcast, I guess even the guys, say somebody wants to start getting into wing shooting. They're, maybe not even starting in on the dogs yet. They're like, whoa, where do I even begin if I want to get into wing shooting?
So the cool thing about this is I do probably get more messages on Instagram from men messaging me on how to gear my wife up, because want the best gear for her, because I want her to join me in the field. And so I should probably do a whole big long post about don't be scared, chicks, you just go, it's so much fun. And there's really like nothing to hold you back. Is it easy in the beginning shooting moving targets? No, but there's a process of making it where you're totally comfortable and have your confidence. So apparel it's just a struggle for everybody. I mean, I'm here with these troweling guys and they need specific equipment because we're literally hunting planted birds on the clock, and you can waste a lot of time if your gear isn't easily accessible, okay? Or if you don't have the right straps for your transmitter, or, if things just don't fit you right. So when you take it and the guys are having complaints, there's like no hope for us girls, right? So I've teamed up with Caliber because, it's a lifestyle store, but they also do hunting stuff. And they have a great line. We're promoting the Purdy upland clothing. So it really depends on what you're hunting, where you are, because, all the regions have different cultures. Now, typically, me being in the South, I'm living in Chippewa boots. Like, this girl's seen too many snakes. I don't even chance it. I don't care if it's 100 degrees outside. I've got my Chippewas on, and I typically wear jeans every day. I just wear my favorite jeans. I had chaps custom fitted for me just by my local seamstress. I mean, you just have to make things work. There's no right or wrong way of wearing upland gear. The only thing is we just wear blaze orange. And, and there's no specific blaze orange. Like, you don't have to have, I don't know, the cool trend upland gear, whatever that may be. I mean, as long as you're just getting outdoors and you're comfortable, that's what matters. I mean, I don't always wear an upland brand per se, because having the mobility and the flexibility of shooting and bagging birds and temperature wise, I mean, we just are limited. And so I just hate the fact that everybody focuses on that first. It's like, just be comfortable, wear what you're comfortable in, make sure you're legal, and have a good time. Now, there are brands that I've partnered with, of course, that I find to be more acceptable, like with Purdy. I do appreciate the tailored and the old school traditional clothing. But when I'm out here trialing, I might have on an Under Armour sweatshirt and a t-shirt, like over and under t-shirt or something like that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's just no right or wrong way.
I think with wing shooting, especially, there's a few areas of hunting where you can get a little bit romantic about it sometimes. You look at like the Western archery elk hunting up in the mountains, and there's a very definite picture in your mind. And I think wing shooting is another one of those things to where you can get really traditional and romantic about it, get this picture in your mind. And there's something fun about being part of that. And it connects you. I feel like with so much of this
heritage and riding the wagon and in the pines and
exactly.
I mean, that's why I partnered with Greeley Hat Works on a hat line, because we did not have that quality within our industry. And I've worn a hat my whole life, before I was a wing shooter. And so I'm with you on it. And that's my normal life. So of course I tend to gravitate towards that, but I'm recognizing that there are not as many people that I come across that have experienced that. And so, like you said, I mean, it's kind of like a fairy tale life. And it is something that everyone should experience once, because you can't put into words what it feels like to walk through that history.
So I'll admit, you mentioned the hats. I've got to admit that I had your website opened here, and while we were talking, I had popped up the hats, and it's been very hard for me not to be distracted because I'm absolutely in love with this line of hats.
Okay, so Robbie didn't send you the picture with his new plantation?
No, I'll have to look for that. But Jesse's
been rocking Sand Hills, and so I guess Robbie got sick of watching all of Jesse's really cool pictures and decided he was going to jump on the hat bandwagon too. And so he just got one, and it looks great. I mean, it's a great fit. And the thing about the hats is that they can be customized. So you can buy them just like you see them, or you can call it Greeley Hat Works. You can have custom fits. You can, like my name's in all my hats because I was measured. Mm-hmm. And so it actually fits my head. It's not just a standard size. I mean, the sky is the limit with creating what you want and having that family story and that traditional piece that's going to last for generations. And I bought into that, but I'm Southern, straight from Georgia. So it was just bred into me.
Well, and it's, I've had my fair share of hats, and I still got my grandpa's straw hat and stuff. It doesn't quite fit me, but I've kind of been at the point right now where I'm like, I want to get a really nice, really custom hat. I want to invest in one that I can keep for a long time, and it's a quality hat. And right. So I think we recorded this podcast at just the right time, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, to be honest, like I've always considered hunting in a hat, pulling the Jim Shockey and hunting in the cowboy hat. So I don't know. I might be putting a little bit of extra money aside every month and seeing where this takes me.
Well, okay. So this totally goes back to what women should wear, right? So I will say it kind of shocked me, coming out of the horse world. We have cows at home. When I travel across the country, it blows on how many shotgun people are cattle people or horse people. So they already have a comfort zone with their attire, and it's like, why do we need to change just because we're a wing shooter? Yeah. I mean, like brush pants and stuff. I mean, there are things that make our life easier that we need gear wise, but I just think there's just been so much pressure put on to having that specific look so that you look the part so that you can go build your skills, when it's really just about the experience. So, yeah, I mean, that was the one thing too. I was like, well, everybody's wearing their cowboy hats, and let's just switch it up and bring back that upland look a little bit where they can still keep their traditional hats and that quality. So, I mean, if you get caught in the rain or whatever and your hat loses shape, you can take it to your local hat maker. They can reshape it for you, or I would recommend shipping it back to Greeley because they know exactly what it was supposed to look like if you loved that look. But this hat's going to be usable forever. I mean, you trash it, gets ran over by a truck, ship it back to Greeley. They're going to rebuild the whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, it was really cool that Trent recognized, all the things that he does, from Yellowstone to other movies that I can't even list. I mean, he's built hats for presidents, country music stars, ball players. I mean, I just think the list is endless of who he built hats for. And he wanted to get into the outdoors, and he's not a big hunter or anything, mm-hmm. He just values the standards of our industry. So I was like, this is just the coolest thing ever. And he actually went with me. We had a booth at Fest. The coffee guys came, Trent came, and the response that we got from the attendees visiting blew my mind, because everybody was all about just sharing stories. And like you said, having your grandpa's hat on the wall and stuff, it brought back a lot of memories for people that maybe that they don't think about every day. And then it was like, this was important to me. It was just a hat, but it brought back so much more. And so I was just really proud to have brought that into the industry. And Trent wanted to team up with us, and he is just such an incredible product that I'm just really proud to put these out there.
I have a feeling I'm going to be spending a lot of the time looking at these, and it's a difficult decision. So I'm going to have to sit on the website for a bit after we're done recording. And, but so as we're winding down, we've talked a little bit about this, people getting started in wing shooting, but, say you're out somewhere, and somebody approaches you, maybe they recognize you, maybe they just recognize that you're a hunter, and they say, hey, I don't have any background in this. I didn't grow up with any friends or family that hunted. I've never done it, but it seems so exciting. It seems like something I'd really want to get into, but there's too much to learn. I'm too intimidated. What advice or words of wisdom, encouragement would you give that person?
So there's so many PFQF does a great job of putting together like their banquets, which is a great place to go. You're giving money to an amazing cause, and you're in a room of like-minded individuals that are experienced. So that's a great place to find a mentor. Then when it comes to shooting skills, the thing I can say about that is I would talk to several instructors until you find the one that speaks your language and that understands where you want to go with it, and also has the reputation of somebody that you want to be. Like one time a lady told me, she was giving me life advice, and she said, I wouldn't take advice from somebody I wouldn't trade shoes with. And I've just tried to live by that, because that constantly has you upping your game. So, you just make sure that you really understand who you're dealing with before you make those commitments, because I think the worst thing that shooters can do is hop around for instructors, because everybody has their own way of doing things. So if you have to start with one person and then you go to the next person and then you kind of start from their basics, it's like you're not really getting further along. Gun fit, God, we could talk an hour just about that. That's been a huge thing for me, is finding the right gun. And I finally did that. I just partnered with Rosini, and my coach had already told me before I was even talking with him about how we could work together, that was the gun for me. We picked it up. I had him go with me to do the measurements. And just picking up a gun in a gun store is really hard to say that's going to work. And so getting your hands on as many guns as possible is the key. And that's really hard too for people getting started that don't have that circle of friends or whatever. But that's the main key, is making sure that you have the proper gun so that your sight picture is right, because there's nothing worse than just having the wrong fitted gun and know exactly what you're doing, but not understand that the only reason you're missing is because your eye's not in line with the barrel. And that just brings so much disappointment and discouragement that people quit before they get started. And they really were doing what they were supposed to do, right? They just had their own tool. So, that's one thing that I really wish people would stress for the new shooters, is that you got to try multiple guns. You can't just pick up one just because you miss everything. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad shot. So, and then the more you shoot, of course, the more confidence you're going to have, the more you're going to feel confident carrying a gun in a field. That's where I really feel like the organizations that are hosting hunts where, you're doing the R3 movement or just your mentor programs help. And then once you go through that and you go to the next level, those preserves, they're a perfect place to go. Outfitters and preserves, they're equipped with dogs. If you don't already have a dog, they're equipped with knowledgeable people. They're equipped with guns. You literally just show up and have a good time, and somebody is there to coach you along the way, teach you field etiquette and safety, and, educate you about gun dogs. Because, once you figure out which gun you want to shoot or whatever, and then you want to get into dogs, well, that's just the same thing. I mean, you got to know what kind of dog is going to fit your lifestyle and your personality and how you want to hunt and where you live. And so, there's just so many options that I think that can cause some overwhelming feelings for the newbies. But at the same time, like, there's not a bad one. I mean, you get a good gun fit, and then who cares if you end up with 10 dogs? Who cares? That's fine. So, and that's the whole thing, is just finding a group of people that you feel confident with and just going. You just got to jump in the deep end of the pool and get started. And then, like our whole talk has been about, life is going to take you where you need to go. So you just got to be ready.
I'm actually writing that down right now, because I really, really like that line. Life is going to take you where you need to go. You've just gotta be ready. That needs to be a meme or a t-shirt or something with your picture on it. So
thank you. It's the story of my life. I just show up and give it my best.
So if folks want to find you online, follow along with all the shooting, all the adventures, where's the best place to check you out?
My website is annavoutdoors.com and Instagram is annavoutdoors.
Fantastic. Well, I will make sure to link to all of that on the show notes page. Definitely going to be linking to those hats.
Thanks.
And I thank you so much for taking the time to hop on with me. Really enjoyed our chat.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate it.
All right, y'all, that'll do it for this episode of The Wild Initiative. Make sure you check out the show notes page at thewildinitiative.com. Get links to everything we talked about in today's episode. That'll do it for this week. Looking forward to next week. But until then, I hope this episode inspired you to get involved, get outdoors, and plan your initiative for the wild.
Thank you for listening to The Wild Initiative. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes or Stitcher, and head on over to thewildinitiative.com to get show notes, check out the blog, gear discounts, other podcasts from the Wild Initiative family, and more.